I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore.
I've been lit for days. I wish my life was on a different page. I got peers and they got shit for brains. If you calm, you must have missed the rage. Me and the homies in our hundreds, but who's counting? We all ditched our rage. I got a biddy with a booty, don't stop. That shit clap like a crowd that 187 the cop. I know a guy with an IQ that's peaking the top. He got a felony on his sheet. He pushing a mob. There's a house of cards being built around me and you. No sign of the doors or windows, but they'll sell you the view. Most of these homebodies pay the rent, but ain't got a clue. It's the same old kidnapping, just the ransom is new. The world we living in is really stranger than fiction. My fucking strength done gave me pills to kick my Twitter addiction. Some of you folks fragile, scared to make a decision. Congratulations, your staleness is your prison.
I don't want you to protest, I don't want you to riot, I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
I'm in the danger zone. The feds listen when I'm on the phone. I ain't special, that's just how it's going. Yesterday I had to smoke a clone. Got high enough to tap my dome. Started slurring like I'm Post Malone. It ain't an office, it's a rush to the loot. Outside a voting center, sign said, who got the juice? If we're a being capable of such a noble pursuit, then why ask the tree to stop making poisonous fruit? No system ever wanted us to win from the start. Imagine choking on the paint but still respecting the art. That's why these kids are willing to walk into the dark. And besides, a little danger can be good for your heart. You can peek behind the curtain, but it's on with the show. They think to shut this shit down, you gotta prove what you know. The only thing worse than clickbait from Donnie and Joe is the thought of either one of them fucking me slow.
And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network? Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs.
Good evening. Hope everybody is doing the best they can tonight. Very somber day. Very somber day. Wow, where to even start on this subject? Well, first, I'm going to start out with being very vague. I'm getting ready to start on a new project. And no, I'm not going to tell you what it is because I'm going to let the person that I'm doing the project with, I'll let them talk about it when they get a chance to do so. So I will say this: stay tuned to. Gosh, what is it now? BC, is it B? I don't know if you're there or not. Is it BC Truck, BC Blades now? I've got this stuck in my memory on the coffee cup. So, you're his old channel name. So, anyway, that's what's stuck in my memory. I think it's BC Truck, BC Blades, or BC Blades, BC Truck, one of the two. Anyway, I can't just go look it up right now because it's on my other account. And if I switch accounts, then I don't know, I think it'll kill the stream. But anyway, I'll let him talk about it before I open my mouth much on it. So that's a really, really awesome thing. That pretty much, I think, covers any of the updates. Now, tonight, what I want to talk about, I'm going to be referencing several things that I did on the show that's missing, which would have been the 24th, because when they gave me the copyright strike, it immediately cut the stream, and I have none of that night. I have absolutely zero of that night. So it is what it is. I'm going to be touching on a lot of that again, because I think we need to really approach this with logic. I think we need to approach everything with logic. What I am going to try to do over the course of however many shows it takes is I'm going to be trying to help folks learn how to train their own minds to think logically instead of emotionally. It's going to be so important in the coming days, weeks, months, and most likely years. And so the best way to do that is to lead by example and to give you examples. There's a lot of people that are raising hell right now, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I get the frustration. I get the anger. But some of the finger pointing, I don't understand. And I'm talking, I'm going to be referring to the attack that happened today in Kabul and the many Marine lives and Afghan civilian lives that were lost in that. A devastating day, very devastating day. I don't just pass over things like this. And as I explained on the show on the 24th that I can't show you, I had a little bit of a experience myself when it comes to, fortunately not the loss of a Marine, but the fear of loss of a Marine. So I take this stuff very, very seriously. For those that maybe not have heard that show live, because it's the only way you would have heard it, I spoke about my own personal experience with my brother, my oldest brother. And it was a very devastating experience for me. My brother was a Marine. Hoorah. Well, I know, once a Marine, always a Marine, but you get my drift. He was an active duty Marine. And he was my idol. He was my everything. Literally saw the world. And it's really, it's hard to talk about it, especially after events like today. He was stationed in Beirut. And I can't remember the year off the top of my head. I can tell you it was the 80s. It might have been around 83-ish or something like that. 83 is tapping on my skull. And depending on how old you are, you may or may not remember, there was a bombing of a Marine barracks in Beirut. And this was a time, obviously, before everybody had a cell phone and we had all kinds of communication, or now we have all kinds of communication and stuff like that. It wasn't the case at this time. And it was a devastating attack. And communications were really jammed up. And there was just so much disarray, just so much. It was crazy. It was crazy. And I will explain a little bit more tonight about the story than what I did on the 24th. My older brother was in high school at the time, and I've referred to my favorite history teacher many times in high school, the one that woke me up, the one that basically made me who I am today, especially in this sense of what I do here. And the first great thing he did for my family wasn't me, it was my brothers. And my brother, I guess, one way or another, was very visibly distraught in class. And teacher asked him, "What's wrong?" And my brother explained to him about our oldest brother and how there was a bombing at the Marine barracks in Beirut. And we had no idea on his condition. We didn't know if he was alive. We didn't know if he was dead, injured. We had no idea. And this was about 2 weeks into this. We had no idea. We had no idea of his status. And the teacher, I don't remember if my brother said he left the room and came back. I think he left the room and came back is what it was. He left the room, came back, and he handed my brother a piece of paper. And he said, "There's a number on here, phone number." He said, "You have your parents call this immediately, right away, the first moment they can. You have them call this number." And so my brother put the piece of paper in his pocket, gave it to my mom, and my mom waited for Dad to get off work and get home, and my mom gave Dad the number, and Dad picked up the phone and dialed the number. The person that picked up that phone, it wasn't an aide, it wasn't a secretary, it wasn't anything like that. The person that picked up that phone was Casper Weinberger. Again, not an aide, not a secretary, him. I don't know where the hell that teacher got that number. My dad told him that nobody knew, and I'm sorry, it's not easy. Told him that it had been 2 weeks and we had no idea on his condition. And Mr. Weinberger said, "Well, I've got to do a few things or whatnot. I've got to look into a couple things. Give me your number and stand by your phone. Do not go away from your phone." So Dad gave him the number, and I'm sure they had it, but this was before the days of caller ID and all that stuff. And it was just a matter of minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and the phone rang. And it was him calling back. And he said, "Look, I got to make this brief because I got to clear the line so your son can get through to you." He said he is safe. He was injured, not due to that particular incident, but he said he's out on ship in the infirmary. I need to get off of here to clear the line so he can get through to you. And 2 weeks of not knowing. And it was one of the most traumatizing events in my entire life. So when I hear about things like today, That's all I can see. And it can be very easy, as you can tell, to get overwhelmed with emotion. But I want to show you and prove to you. I want to lead by example and show you that you don't have to let that emotion lead you. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of today. And I want you to know that not for a moment today did I let that emotion lead me. Now, about a week or so ago, I did. About a week or so ago, and I mentioned this on the show on the 24th. Again, you guys don't have the opportunity to see that. Thanks, YouTube. Thanks, Bo. That, my initial response is we need to send in a bunch of Marines. We need to, basically go extract all of the Americans and citizens, as well as citizens of the other nations that are there because of us, and get everybody out of there and just level it. That was emotion. That was emotion. Likely, a lot of it because of what I experienced with my brother. And I explained on the 24th why that wasn't such a grand idea. And for one, it's not a very easy mission, for one. It would have probably, if that method would have been taken, it would have probably been much more devastating. Well, now we're sitting here today after there were a couple of bombings and apparently shooting attack, or however you want to phrase it. Numbers, I've seen multiple numbers today. I've seen 12, or I've seen 13 Marines killed. I believe 60 Afghan civilians. And we've got everybody that has anything to say about anything running around pointing fingers. Of course, you got the left blaming Trump. You got the right blaming Biden. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. Wait a minute. One of the criticisms is that we shouldn't have left, or however. I don't know the exact criticism. It doesn't make any sense to me. We should have gotten out of there years ago. We should have never been there. We should have never been there. We were there on false pretenses. I'm not saying 9/11 didn't happen. What I'm saying is 9/11 isn't the reason why we went into Afghanistan. That is what I'm saying. They use that as an excuse. And it's possible that may have even been why it happened. We don't really know. We do know that the story that we were given, that just don't pan out. I put a lot of thought into this. And it's certainly not Trump's fault. How could it be his fault? All he did was set up a timeline to get the troops out. I applaud that. I applaud that. Again, we should have done it long ago. I can't fault Biden for following through on it. In fact, that's the only damn thing Biden's done that I appreciate. That's it. That's one thing. And I do appreciate that he followed through on it instead of giving the military-industrial complex their, continued forever war. So I applaud him for it. So whose fault really is it that the disaster turned out what it did? Well, if we don't use emotion and we use logic, it actually makes it very, very hard to point a finger. I think if anything was a flub in this whole situation, it was that we pulled too many servicemen and women away from there too soon before getting the civilians out. I know there's debate on that too, especially by Bo thinking that that the order of things should have been different. And that's something that I mentioned again on the 24th when I talked about it. You know, I don't know where that guy gets his thoughts from. I mean, I have no clue. But it absolutely should have been the majority of American and other nation citizens, meaning the UK and any of the other Germany, their citizens and stuff. Those should have been the focus. And I understand that we needed at least a core. We at least needed some of those civilians there for the support roles that they fulfill. But not nearly all of them. We didn't need as many that are there or were there. Not even remotely. We could have pulled a lot of those out. So, if I was to point a finger on anything involving all of this, that would have been number one. We should have never pulled so many troops out of there. And the one thing we absolutely should not have done was pulled our air support. Absolutely should not have pulled our air support. That was stupid. So let me ask whose fault that is. Now I know a lot of people would run to jump to say, well, obviously it was Biden's fault. Well, here's the thing. And I think when he spoke today, he was very accurate when he said this. What was the word that he used again? There was a word that he had used when a reporter had asked him if he takes the blame, if he, and seems like it starts with an F, and I can't think of the word. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on that. But in a sense, okay, in a figurative sense, I wish I could remember the word. It is, right? Because he is the commander-in-chief. So he automatically has to take a level of responsibility for this. Automatically, right? It wouldn't have mattered who was in office. It's kind of their job, right? But in reality, it wasn't Joe Biden with his 64 pack of crayons in his coloring book making up the plans to draw these troops down and get the civilians out and all of that. That's not what he does. Now, what happens usually is he is presented. He's got advisors, and he's presented with the plan, and, it's one of those deals to where he shakes his head yes or no. And they go with it. Well, here's the thing. We all know that all the lights aren't all on upstairs with him. We know that. We get that. So it'd be very, very, very easy to take advantage of that. Essentially, the right people, the right advisors could advise him anything, and he would probably go with it. And I think that's largely what probably happened here. Let me remind you that there was a drone attack that Trump ordered that wasn't necessarily a good move. Wasn't an accurate move. Now, the claim was he did it because his daughter told him to. But the truth of the matter is, and she may have had input on it, absolutely she may have. I don't know. But I guarantee you that there were advisors there also telling him to do it. And he did. He did. And I think he immediately realized that might not have been the best move. There were multiple times after that Trump's advisors were telling him to make similar moves. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Trump was smart enough to realize that he got played. And he wasn't going to allow him to play him again. And he didn't. He absolutely didn't. And you have to understand, this is how a lot of that works. Because it's really, you wouldn't want a king. Okay, you wouldn't want somebody in office that just absolutely makes 100% of the decisions on their own. It would be a nightmare. It would be a nightmare. You know, the advisory roles are very important as long as the individuals in those roles had pure motives. Well, that's where the problem lies. I don't think that there's an advisory role in our administration. And when I say that, not just the Biden administration, I mean administrations ever since I've been alive. I don't think that there's been an advisory position and an advisory member that necessarily had pure intentions. A lot of them are paid off by lobbyists and corporate interests and you name it to sway things one way or another. So, like I said, it gets a little sticky when people want to start pointing fingers. Can we blame the Pentagon? Absolutely, they take a huge part of the role here. Because somebody's dumb plan was to take all of the air support out and, you know, to take out so many of the military members before we evacuated citizens. And then, on the same token, you have to take in consideration that they probably didn't know that the Taliban was going to be able to gain so much ground so quickly. Now, all that's taking a logical approach based on the information that we're told. There are a lot of factors that I don't think we are told involved in this. And I think it bears looking at as well. I'm not quite so sure that the current Taliban is the Taliban, the same Taliban that we remember from before. Why is that? I've actually read articles to where the Taliban, the leadership of the Taliban, is going to have some type of sensitivity training when it comes to women. Is that the Taliban you remember? Not the Taliban I remember. The Taliban I remember would behead a woman just because she wanted to get an education. That's the Taliban I remember. Now the new and improved Taliban apparently is okay with the idea of sensitivity training. Something smells fishy there. While the new club in town, being referred to as ISIS-K, wants to keep things the way that they were. So I find all of this stuff interesting. And to sit here and say that I understand it all would be entirely foolish. But this is a situation where nobody can just easily point a finger. What I would hope is that the people would focus a little more on thinking with logic, for one, and for two, actually in a meaningful way care about not only the lives lost today, but all the lives that have been lost over the last 20 years. Not just the lives that were lost over there, but the 20 plus lives a day that are lost here in the United States from the mental aftermath of the nightmare over there. Again, this is a very widespread issue. It's awful easy just to point fingers and blame. But it's really not doing anybody justice. And it certainly isn't helping individuals. The more rhetoric that goes on and the more hate and division that gets sowed, it's not good for these vets. It's not good for them. It's not going to be an easy thing for the veterans to put this behind them. It's just not. There's already way too many slaps in the face involving this. So the finger pointing and the blaming and all of the political pundits being mouthpieces like they are, they're not helping the situation. They're not leading by example. And many of them are just doing it for the money. A lot of times when we have a situation happen of any sort, you have all these different mouthpieces that compete with one another to say the most jaw-dropping thing. We got to back away from that. We got to back away from that. There is not any one person to blame. A whole lot of people. Many of them you'll never know the names of. So I think it's a society, and this goes out across all of our lives. I think we need to stop looking for who to blame for everything. And when I'm speaking about this, I'm not speaking about what happened today or even the last 20 years in Afghanistan. I'm talking about all of us in our everyday personal lives. We have to stop focusing on who we can blame. We have to stop focusing on how we can be a victim. Because you can't be a victim and move forward. You can't do both. You have to choose one. And victimhood never moves forward. Ever. It stays stagnant in the same place, and it just festers and festers. And I think that is a good lesson of where we need to go from here with this situation, circling back to the last 20 years in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we need to figure out a way to move forward. And I think the worst way to do that is to keep the hate going and the discontent. We've got to move forward. It's bad enough that so much was lost in such a short amount of time, and I'm speaking about all of the hard work that both military and civilians had done over there. And it was just wiped away in a matter of days, as if they didn't even do anything over there. And there was 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and lives and limbs. I can't see how we can possibly move forward by sitting and festering in blame games and seeing who can make themselves the biggest victim out of a situation that many of those people saying that were never even in. That is how disgusting it is. That's how disgusting it is. We've got a lot, and I've been saying there's a lot coming down at us right now. And if folks don't learn, if they don't make it a practice to figure out a way to keep moving forward, they aren't going to stand much of a chance. We have gotten way too pampered in this country. See, that's the only way people can really play the blame game and the victimhood game and all that, is if they're in a pampered position. Seriously. It's really the only way they can get away with it. And I'm not saying living in luxury, pampered, or anything like that. But definitely not super, super destitute. Being humble is an incredible quality. Being humble is probably one of the best and one of the most important qualities a human being can have. Well, let me ask you this. Who's more humble? The businessman that makes $500,000 or better a year? Or the homeless person that doesn't have a pot to piss in? Who has more joy? Or the likelihood of more joy? There's two kinds of joy, by the way. There's like a spiritual type of joy that you can only get from the Father. He's the only one that can provide you with that. And then there's a more earthly joy. And that largely comes from just being content, being satisfied. And the interesting thing is, it's a lot easier to get the earthly form of joy if you're trying to get the spiritual type of joy. Much, much easier. But you can never achieve it without moving forward. And I think we're going to be entering a time in this nation to where things are going to get so dire that we're going to have to do everything we can to find joy in any way we can and hold on to it with everything we got. We're in for some rough times. You're going to see in the headlines today, the headlines, and I'm even speaking beside what happened over in Afghanistan today. The headlines were insane. They were firing in at me all day long. We've got some very interesting hurdles that are right in front of us. And one thing that I will hope that people take away from today, not today what happened there, but from this show, is that right now we need to take every opportunity that we can to have some joy. Because as the days go on, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to be able to obtain that. So whatever it takes, every single one of us has good things in our lives. Even amidst all of the chaos, we've all got good things in our lives. And I would highly recommend that people start focusing on those right now. I would highly recommend that people not take for granted those good things. Because I think things are going to change very quickly. And as I've been saying, expect this roller coaster ride to really get hectic and to start moving fast. And if anything, today has proven that. And I'm not just referring to the events in Afghanistan. There's a lot more than that went on today. We'll be covering that in the headlines. A lot of stuff across the board. Things related to COVID-19 and things related to, of course, Afghanistan. Things related to the dollar, the petrodollar. It's insane. When we've got a vice president that is was over in Singapore, and she flat out gives out a warning for people to get their Christmas gifts now. That should be a heads up. That should be a massive heads up for people. And I think that there are a lot of factors that play into that. I think the supply issues as far as the distribution, meaning, getting it shipped, is an issue with that. I think manufacturing still not being up to 100% is a factor. And there are a ton of factors that play into this. And even the economy, because I think we're going to see the prices of goods go through the roof. Especially for the unnecessary items. They're just going to get insane. And if you kind of take a peek around at different things, they already are. The other day, I forget who I was talking to. We got on the subject of televisions. Oh, our friend Vi. And she had gotten a new TV. And she had told me the price of it. And my jaw about hit the floor. And I know you can't see it, but we've got a 43-inch up there. Just a TCL, nothing fancy. It's, just a TCL Roku TV. 43-inch, 4K. And we paid around $250 for it when we got it. And that was, I don't know. Any idea when we got that, hun? It'd take me 2 seconds to look it up. So. Let's see. Order details. February 21st, 2020 is when we ordered it. So, about a year and a half, I guess, or so. She paid like $100 more, roughly, for a 40-inch 1080p. And I can't remember. I think she said it. I can't remember the brand. I don't want to say because I don't particularly remember. But it wasn't one of the name brand ones or nothing like that. And it's a Roku TV she got. So that's just an example of the insanity in the prices. And I'm sure that you're well aware of even things like used car prices. Stuff like this is going to continue to go up exponentially. So it's something you need to think about. And absolutely, if there's stuff that you want to, if you've got your needs taken care of, I would get the Christmas shopping out of the way. I absolutely would. I don't know what Christmas is even going to look like, to be real honest. Don't even have any idea. But I would say that if you've got your needs taken care of, you might want to get that taken care of. Going downhill quick. Just like I said. Let me go ahead and I'll jump into headlines. We'll get those out of the way. I'm going to try to get the show up over on Rumble and Odyssey tonight. I didn't get last night's show up until this morning, and that's because it took so long for the show to process on YouTube. So depending on whether or not it takes so long to process on YouTube tonight, will depend whether or not I get it up over on the other platforms tonight or in the morning. Either way, so we'll get headlines out of the way. We'll get the heck out of here, and I'm gonna enjoy my couple of days off. I am going to enjoy my couple of days off from doing this. And then we're setting at 6 days, it said, left before we can go back to our normal home. So, after we come back Sunday night, Normal home, yeah. And then we'll have like a few days after we get back from our weekend, which is Friday and Saturday. We'll just have like a few days left, and we can go back to our normal little hole in YouTube, and continue on. And I think I can be a good enough boy not to let it happen again. I'll tell you, it is truly ridiculous that we can't just communicate. It's truly ridiculous that we have to play games. It's truly ridiculous that we have to put up with the level of censorship and tyranny and you name it. It's just absolutely insane what is happening in this country right now. Which reminds me, not anything related to saying the word insane. The Patriot Nurse put out a video earlier today, and I urge folks to go watch her video. Absolutely urge folks to go watch her video. Very good video. Just as the last one that she did, the one before she did, was an incredible video. I'll let her speak on that. Just watch her video. I'm not rushing to get in trouble. But she had another very serious talk again today. And we better get to doing something. That's for sure. That's for sure. As I was saying, we got to move forward. We got to move forward. And I've said it many, 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 many times. We have to stop expecting others to do it for us. That includes politicians and government, right? We have to stop expecting others to do it for us. It's not going to happen. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to fix this. If we want this fixed, we damn well have to do it ourselves. And there are channels, there are ways that we can do that without bloodshed. And that she goes into, and she talks about convention of states. She talks about, what's the word? Where you leave? Secession. So she talked about convention of states and secession. Just watch her video. She goes much more into it. And, we got to do something. We have got to do something. Because, again, if we don't move forward, we're just going to sit here and we're going to get stagnant. But there's other factors, too, when you just sit there and you get stagnant, right? Think about water that sits there and gets stagnant. It gets algae, and it gets other factors that worsen the conditions. And the same is true with what's going on right now with our government. If we just get stagnant and expect somebody else to fix this, it's just going to keep getting worse. And at the rate that it's getting bad now, I don't know that there'll be an election in 2024. So that is certainly something folks need to think about. Let me go ahead and I don't know what's best. I can't tell you that an election in 2024 is the best. We've got to fix this, and I don't see how we're going to fix the broken system that we have. Now, when I say the broken system, I'm not talking about the constitutional republic. I'm talking about the perversion of the constitutional republic that is now being carried out by our government. Anyway, let me quit rambling and get to some headlines, and we'll get out of here and all that good stuff, and I'll chillax, maybe. Let me have a sip of coffee. All right. You guys might want to see, huh? All right, all headlines from today. That I put out today. So, federal court sanctions pro-Trump lawyers Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood over bad faith 2020 election fraud suit. Let's see. Security escort Connecticut Governor Lamont from angry protesters after he defends school mask mandate. Private flight leaves Kabul with nearly 300 empty seats after passengers turned away by U.S. and Taliban security, says reports. 80% of Afghanistan's budget has disappeared overnight. Let's see, 1.6 million Moderna COVID vaccine doses pulled in Japan after foreign material found in some vials. London police tell people to throw out food after man allegedly injects something into products at 3 supermarkets. Militants planning imminent lethal attack on Kabul airport, warns UK minister. And it was shortly after I shared this out that it happened. India ranks second in the world in cryptocurrency adoption, says a report. 30 years after Soviet collapse, almost 2/5 of Russians say they have barely enough for food as prices surge, says a survey. Washington slaps whopping duties on Russian pipe imports. France will not back down from sanctioning unvaccinated care workers, COVID boosters to be offered to elderly from September. Soviet Union's legacy is being used to paint Russians as conquerors, despite the fact it conquered them too. It's just kind of an opinion piece, but they make a good point. TV anchor is axed after saying a black presenter hosted NBA Finals because bosses felt pressure about crappy diversity record. Diabetes drug batch recalled in the UK over toxic contamination with potential cancer-causing substance. France will end Afghanistan evacuations on Friday evening ahead of full U.S. withdrawal, says PM Castex. 100+ people denounced COVID health passes by holding protest picnic outside restaurants in Reims, France. Might be Rhymes, I'm not sure how they pronounce that. We were the ones to warn NATO about potential terrorist plot targeting Kabul airport, Taliban spokesman tells Russian media. Now this is interesting to hear this headline and to hear how the rest of it plays out. I mean, it's interesting because it does kind of appear like the original warnings was actually from the Taliban. It's interesting. As its poll numbers drop to new lows, Putin's supporting United Russia Party faces prospect of losing its absolute hold on power. Beijing blasts American exploitation and coercion as Huawei executive Ming Wanzhou detention reaches 1,000 days. COVID vaccine centers to pop up at Leeds and reading festivals, but only to those not under the influence. Russian man sues TV channel after too much negative news caused him moral damage. Now seeks cash for psychological well-being. That's insane. Australia records more than 1,000 new domestic COVID infections for the first time since the pandemic began. NHS plans COVID-19 vaccination for 12-year-olds that would not require parental permission, says reports. If Britain violates Russian territorial waters again, Moscow forces will make things much more difficult, an ambassador warns. Qatar offering COVID-19 shots to Afghan evacuees transiting through the country after rescuing over 40,000 people. The Italian evacuation plane comes under fire as it takes off from Kabul, says reports. Half of U.S. workers favor employee shot mandate, says an AP NORC poll. Pritzker to announce indoor mask mandate and vaccine requirement for teachers. Ivermectin is being given to inmates at Washington County Jail. This is in Arkansas that this is happening. I thought that was very interesting that it was. So I would imagine that a lot is going to unfold from that. So, and YouTube, I'm just reading the headline, yo. That's all I'm doing. Facebook imposed face recognition tech on 200,000 South Koreans and took social security info without consent, data watchdog finds. UK car production drops to the lowest since 1956 due to COVID and chip shortages. The Taliban needs foreign help to eradicate opium trafficking, spokesman tells Russian media. Russian Marine commandos able to silently drop from the skies into seas with advanced new parachute designed for underwater combat. U.S. Afghan officials, at least 72 killed in airport attack. A new Russian New Russian missile defense radar system is world first for helping intercept nuclear warheads, military industry chief reveals. As EU states build walls to stop migrants, ECHR tells Poland and Latvia, to provide shelter for those crossing the Belarusian border. Let's see. Pentagon confirms explosion outside airport in Afghanistan's capital. Let's see. Visit Cornwall CEO pleads with Brits not to visit Cornwall. I have no idea. French envoy warns second attack at Kabul airport possible following explosion. And warns civilians to leave urgently. Russia invites Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson. Man, I don't know what it is. To launch a rocket taking crew to record first feature film shot in space. And all of this monetizing space travel, I'm not that great with that idea. I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't bother me. And I don't mind so much the idea of rich people shooting up to space. What bothers me more is the idea of these rich people like putting these billboards up in space and putting literally advertising in our skies. That bothers me. You know, some rich dude wants to go take a rocket ride. I don't care. Whatever, but I think it's a very poor time and very poor taste to be just egregiously spending that kind of cash just because they can, when so many people are struggling so much. I just think it's insane. Let's see, an article that talks about what they know about ISIS-K. Lebanese judge issues subpoena for caretaker PM after he refuses to appear at Beirut blast inquiry. I don't know what the deal is, and I apologize for yawning. I don't know why it is, but it comes in like, I'll have a period of it where I'll have several nights to where I can't get through the headlines without yawning. Indoor mask mandate takes effect Monday in Illinois. Vaccines required for teachers, and I believe it said caregivers, or healthcare workers, I believe. Now, I'm not 100% on this, but I am pretty sure that mask mandate even includes like us sitting at home in our living room right now. I'm pretty sure that we're supposed to have masks on right now in our own home. That's crazy. I don't know. I have no idea. And I'm not giving anybody advice. I'm not blah, blah, blah. Seek a medical professional. Go to your doctor. Blah, 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 blah. But, really? I mean, now I'm looking at our life. You know, we don't see that many people. No, we don't. We go most of the time it's just us. Jen, I, and Blue. That's it. So, very rare we have visitors or that we see people or anything like that. Very, very rare. So we have quite a bit different situation than a lot of people. But, let's see. Russia fines U.S. tech giants Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp nearly $500,000 over refusal to stop sending user data abroad. Massive explosion rocks Kazakh military base as emergency workers scramble to battle massive blaze in Central Asian nation. Olympic champs claim material is peeling off of gold medals made from recycled electronic devices just 4 weeks after the Tokyo Games. That I thought was mind-blowing. Arrest made as animal rebellion activists vandalize iconic Victoria Memorial Fountain outside London's Buckingham Palace. That was my special image I made up. The new and improved Kellogg's Isis K. Yeah, I'm demented. Let's see. Time's Up and its supporters called out after report reveals it refused to support Cuomo accuser. After Trump-era hand-in-glove sabotage ops, Netanyahu kept Iran engaging Biden in the dark about Natanz attack, says the media. Macron cannot guarantee evacuation of French citizens waiting abroad 20 buses in Kabul after dual explosions near the airport. Coroner confirms 44-year-old BBC presenter died from AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine side effect. And again, YouTube, I am reading a headline. I'm reading a headline. It's ridiculous. Israel allows increased flow of goods into Gaza amid Palestinian protests to lift blockade. Disaster bigger than Saigon. U.S. Afghan war veteran who lost both legs slams Biden's horrendous exit strategy in RT interview. And again, like I said earlier, I'm sure Biden didn't sit down with his 64-count box of crayons and his coloring book and actually make the plan himself. His advisors told them what they thought was a good idea, and he said, oh, something like that, and then they did. Pentagon confirms multiple U.S. troops have been killed in attack on Kabul airport. Capitol Police officers suing Trump, Roger Stone, and extremist groups over January 6th riot. Third explosion heard from direction of Kabul airport, says RT correspondent. Let's see, mayor says 2 dead and 1 hurt in a shooting near Illinois courthouse that happened up in Kankakee, Illinois, up, I think it's like about I think they said like 60 miles south of Chicago. It's up there a ways. Secretive U.S. background check program could help revoke citizenship granted to immigrants, a rights group warned. Something. A supply chain crunch that was meant to be temporary now looks like lasting well into next year. And that's out of Bloomberg. Okay, that was an article I ran across out of Bloomberg. I think it was the article from yesterday, but nonetheless, wow. ISIS claims responsibility for deadly blasts outside Kabul airport. All soldiers flown out. Germany ends evacuation operation in Afghanistan. Additional explosions heard in Kabul were controlled demolition of ammo by U.S. forces and not further attacks, says the Taliban. American talk show host calls for mass violence against Afghans over terrorist attack that killed U.S. citizens in Kabul. And let me tell you what, the headline is very, very embellishing on this, okay? It almost makes it sound like he was calling for, attacks like here or something like that, in the streets here or something. That's not what he was saying. He was saying something to the effect that, for every U.S. soldier lost, we should wipe out a city over there, okay? Which I'm not saying is a positive, thought, but the headline really makes it seem much different than what it was, Let's see. We will not be deterred. Biden says U.S. evacuation to continue after Kabul airport blast despite potential further attacks. A Maryland Heights police officer charged an undercover predator sting. Let's see. Read the room. Vice shredded over tweet warning of neo-Nazis in Marine Corps after Kabul blast kills U.S. troops. And rightfully so. I mean, that whatever you want to call group of people, I'm talking about Vice. Yeah. Not good. And I got a number one up there. Let's see. UK evacuation flight to pick up Pin Farthing and his rescue animals from Kabul canceled after backlash, but effort is on. Crazy. Let me get that headline out. Almost there. All right. Okay. I think that pretty much wraps up what I got for you tonight. I am going to get out of here, and if something super crazy goes on, during our days off, I'll be live. Again, I'm going to remind everybody, I think things are going to slide quick, and I think it's going to be exponential. I think it's, as each day goes by, I think it's going to slide quicker and further each day. I don't think we're going to get much of a break. I really don't. So just hang in there. Do what you can to prep. Remember what I said earlier. Find the joy. Every single one of us has things to be grateful for, has things to be content. Find that while you can. Find it while you can. Because so much can change so quickly. And I don't think that a large majority of the American public really understand that. Really realize that. And I'm talking about the masses, the majority. I'm not talking about individuals that's had a rough go at things. There's a lot of people in this country that think they've had a rough go, they don't know the beginning of. They're about to find out. So grab that joy wherever you can. Anyway, with that, God willing, we will see you Sunday night. If not, unfortunately, before then because of some craziness. But just hang in there. Find that joy. Keep prepping. Keep moving forward. Anyway, we'll see you Sunday night. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.